My first two statements I made in the first hour is that Peyton Manning's so good it's discouraging. It's like Tiger Woods on a golf course. It's not encouraging, it's discouraging. And secondly, you can say what you want about Brett Favre and the mistake. He has so much courage, took such a beating. That team wouldn't be there without him. I love Favre. So, but you said to me during the break, and you're just looking to pick a fight. You said, you think I just want you to say the better team lost. Well, I don't believe in that. Who wins, wins. Who loses. I did say this. I love Sean Payton. Over Brad Childress. I like the Vikings roster. If I was a GM and you say, you get either roster but forget the coach, I'd take the Vikings roster. And you just laughed at me and said you were going to hit me in the neck. So what do you make of that comment?
Well, did you say or didn't you say that the better team lost? Because I've heard a lot of people say since last evening that the better team, the Minnesota Vikings, lost this game. Did you make that statement?
If you can put in earplugs and outgain me by 2.5 football fields, I think you're a better team.
So yards is what determines who's a better team?
And poor officiating, yes.
Okay. I'm just curious where people are going with this, because the last time I checked, part of being a team is understanding what matters most. And everybody says it, from the most ignorant analysts to the best. Turnovers is the only stat that matters in playoff football, right?
Yeah, it does. It's big.
Well, the better team, quote-unquote better team, turned over 5 times yesterday and could have had 9.
Easily.
Realistically, could have had 9. So one argument against the better team lost.
Ball security is huge.
It's the most important thing.
81% of the time, fewer turnovers win.
And what do good teams do?
They don't turn it over.
Thank you. Last time I checked, managing situations, managing chaotic moments is the sign of a good team.
Yes.
Last time I checked, the quote-unquote better team that lost yesterday was in field goal range to win the game in regulation and took the silliest of penalties, having 12 men in the huddle.
Amazing.
Okay, and if that doesn't get called, it's going to get called for having back-to-back timeouts. So either way, they totally blew that one.
Yes, they did.
Okay. Last time I checked, really good teams play best in critical moments. Red zone defense. The Saints didn't move the ball a lot. When they got down there, they punched in the end zone. The Vikings couldn't keep them out, so they held them to not a whole lot of yards, but yet they gave up points.
Yes.
Okay, so the better team gave up more points than the other team. Okay? And then the biggest thing that I always think, and it's been my experience as I played football, as I've studied sports, as I followed the greats, poise, the intangible factor, plays a huge part in who the better team is.
Yeah.
The more poised team was definitely the Saints, not the quote-unquote better team that lost the game.
Yeah.
Because if they were poised, they wouldn't have given up 2 first downs in overtime by penalties.
Yeah.
You can argue the calls one way or the other, but either way, both those players lost poise.
Yeah.
Allen in the slot, grabbing and holding Colston, and then Lieber down the sidelines on Thomas, panicked, threw his arms up in the air, made contact. That's a lack of poise. So the 4 things that I classify what makes a team better, the Vikings stunk at all 4.
Yeah, no, listen.
So when I hear this whole argument that the better team lost yesterday, I get a little bothered because I think people so much, they can talk about turnovers mattering, but really at the end of the day, they just want to see numbers, who had the most yards, who had the most big plays, and go, oh, wow, that team did a lot of good stuff. They're the better team. No, the better team encompasses all areas of football and all the intangible qualities that go into being a team. The Vikings didn't have it. You saw it coming. They were a 12-4 team that was destined to be one and done, or maybe get this far.
No, it's a point well taken. And by the way, you're right.
That's the only reason I wanted to make that argument.
No, you are right. You're absolutely right. But what I said is this, and I said this to you last week and this week. I love the Vikings roster.
Yeah.
I kept saying to you, if you take out the coaches and I'm a GM and you say, what roster do you like? I get elite pass rushers. Favre for maybe one more year. I just get all these young players. But you're absolutely right. Listen, let me point this out, and why you're right. One of the downsides to Favre is the coach feels less relevant. And
no doubt.
By the way, some of those mistakes are not just Childress. Childress, to some degree, lets Favre run that huddle. And whereas Breeze lets Peyton run the huddle largely. So what you're saying is absolutely right, and it's part of the love affair with Favre. He's the gorgeous girl who's high maintenance. You get the good with the bad. He got you here, and you'd never be here, but he does hurt you. Those mistakes. Blame Favre a little bit for those mistakes.
Well, I think the last drive of regulation had elements. It was Brett Favre's career in microcosm.
Greek tragedy.
Listen, it had great courage. He's playing on one ankle. He was definitely hurt. to me, he's the most courageous quarterback that's ever played the game. You had elements of that in the last drive.
Yes.
You had brilliance. The throw to Sidney Rice to get him around midfield where he squeezes it in, that tiny little window, was brilliant. He might be the only guy who can make that throw in that situation.
Yes.
So you have courage, you have brilliance, and you have catastrophe. He makes the one mistake you can't make in that situation. That is Brett Favre's career in microcosm. Courageous, brilliant, and catastrophe all in one drive. He spent his entire career straddling this thin little line between brilliance and catastrophic mistake. And I can tell you, Cowboys 2 weeks ago, he rolls to his right, Sidney Rice is crossing the field, he throws it behind his body, brilliant. Wins the game for him, seals the deal. Unbelievable. You shouldn't make that throw, but Brett Favre can make that throw. 1 week later, in the most critical moment, he rolls to his right, Sidney ran a crossing route, throws it across his body, catastrophe. This time it gets picked.
Yeah.
I played against him for 14 years. I've studied him for 5 others. It's never changed. And that's why I love him so much, because he plays uninhibited. He plays with no shackles. He plays on his terms. And he has a blast doing it. But you have to take the good with the bad. I always say this. The same thing makes you laugh, makes you cry. And he's made us laugh a million times with just the amazing stuff he does, the brilliance. But he makes you cry every time that catastrophic moment is waiting to happen, and it happens.
He also is the biggest ratings driver, not Manning or Brady in this league, because he takes you on an emotional roller coaster.
No doubt.
You fall in and out of love with him more than any player in American sports.
No doubt.
It's why, by the way, as a media guy, he pays my bills.
Outside Tiger Woods, nobody's going to tilt the needle one direction.
No, Favre. And I've seen all the research at ESPN. He's number 2.
Yeah.
You'll fall in love with him and you hate him. He's the ex you go back and keep dating. You just can't. You love him, you miss him. He kills you and you want to.
Because life, as you know it, as you get older, has all kinds of ebb and flows, mountains and valleys.
And he gives you both.
And you relate to the little boy that's watching football, wanting to play it, wants to live his life. Yeah. Because it mimics their life outside of football on the football field.
We as Americans love celebrities. We love them up and we love them down. But he gives you the great American sort of ethos of hardworking, pained, flawed, brilliant. He is us.
Yep.
All right, coming up, Jets, Colts. And this will be great because this game was just, first of all, I couldn't